Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from Madison Realty Capital, New York Community Bank, M&T Bank, AmTrust Title, Customers Bank, Ariel Property Advisors, Capital One Bank, Sterling National Bank, Marks Paneth LLP, Meridian Capital Group. Additional funding has been provided by grants from Amarant Bank, AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, B6 Real Estate Advisors, CBRE, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Mortgage Lending, Citizens Bank, Collins Building Services, CPEX Real Estate Services, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties Handler Real Estate Organization, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Catsimatidis Red Apple Group, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Matone Group, Newmark Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Group, RPW Group, SJP Properties, Stonehenge NYC, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Merringore Family Foundation, and these friends. A decade ago, I had these two young ladies on my TV show, and we were talking about the world. This was just before the recession. This is before the world ended. So today, I'm bringing them back, plus a new young lady, to talk about where the world has changed over the last decade in real estate. My guests today include Mary Frankel, who's the principal president of Minerva Realty Consultants, Daria Schneider, who is a partner at Marks Paneth, and Mary's partner in crime, Jamie Cavello, who is the executive director at Avison Young. So 10 years ago, when the two of you were on my show, where do you see the change in the past decade? And you've been in the business for 14 years, so you're also pretty knowledgeable.
Well, Jamie and I were last year with you. It was April 15th, 2008. So as you said, in March, Bear Stearns had gone. Lehman Brothers had their issues in September of 2008, so didn't have that yet. We knew there were issues, but nobody envisioned it was going to be the recession that it was, and the market would go down as much as it did, and that CMBS and commercial real estate would have the issues that it did. Nobody envisioned it was going to go so far, so down, so fast, and stay that way for a while. We were still a little bit optimistic at that point.
You were a young accountant at that time, working for a good medium-sized accounting firm specializing in real estate. How did a 24-year-old person feel at that time, going into this difficult time? You had graduated Baruch, part of the City University of New York, and here you were trying to get involved with accounting and in real estate.
So I had the unique perspective of having almost an inside view where we're working on audits and returns for commercial developers, owners, and at that point it seemed like things were very steady. Nobody was really investing, new deals were not really happening, and that's the way it really stayed for a little bit, until maybe just recently where things have started to pick up and much more deals are in place. There's a lot more work to be done, and everyone's prospering a little better comparing to
Jamie?
10 years ago.
Well, the market in 2007, especially in sales, was booming. 4 to 5% cap, 90% leverage. The following year, in 2008, when we met you last, it dropped by 90%, so pretty significant. And no one envisioned Lehman to fall out the way it did. in quite that fashion.
No.
No one envisioned that. So that really made a bad situation much, much worse.
But in 2008, if I asked the three of you the topic of e-commerce, it may have said, what is e-commerce?
Yep.
Okay, I don't believe e-commerce was even mentioned at that time, correct?
I don't think we talked about it in that show. No, it wasn't a driving force of the market the way
It was, because I remember I'd written a paper on it somewhere before that, and it was around, but I don't think anybody envisioned at that point it was going to become the force that it is.
So I'm going to ask the three young ladies, in 2008, when you went shopping, where did you go to a store? Did you go to a department store? Did you go to a specialty store? Amazon was around, but in 2008, they had just started to change a little bit. I mean, they started as a book company, so they had changed. We did have Loehmann's, okay, but we didn't have TJ Maxx.
Sure.
2008, industrial wasn't that really big of an item.
it was very low
Okay.
Right.
valued.
Industrial was a subject. If I would bring industrial people to my show, they would say, oh, that's something in New Jersey. You know, it's something to connected. You know, it's an industry that's really stagnating. So the world has changed. And then we were just talking in the green room before about the topic of office co-sharing. What was happening in the co-sharing, the WeWork world? What was happening at that time?
So in 08, it really was, as we discussed, the Reguses of the world, and they looked a lot like the typical office. And today we have WeWork and different versions of WeWork, different brands, and they're quite different than a Regus, very different, and it's very generational, as well as the shopping and the e-commerce. It's generational.
Now,
because
One Life at that time, in 2008, Mary was with Moody's, okay, a rating agency, a great rating agency. But if somebody came to you at that time and said, because this is right after Regis had filed bankruptcy, okay, the office, and you would look at a company saying, you know, oh, I want to get involved with this office share. Look what happened to Regis.
We would have been questioned that incredibly, whether an industrial or if an office company came and was going to have them as a tenant. Absolutely. Now remember, I was a REIT analyst, not a CMBS person. CMBS people were started in the office next to me. But the interesting part is that most of the REITs did fine during the whole recession. They had to shore up with some extra equity issuance, and we believe that the unsecured bond covenants really act as a governor to force them to maintain certain amount of liquidity. The only REIT that went bankrupt was GGP, General Growth. That was the only one that declared bankruptcy. And now, I mean, then you had about 150 REITs on the NAREIT index. Now you have 226.
You know, in 2008, we were at the big four. Okay, the big 8 to the big 6 to the big 4. But the proliferation of medium-sized accounting firms were a different world. You had a lot of smaller medium-sized accounting firms. Then what's happened over the last couple of years, what we've seen the change. So let's now go to 2019. Let's look at the different worlds that we're in over there and see where it is. I'd like to ask you, because you're on the ground with these clients, do you see these clients, are they expanding? What do you see happening?
So the landlords are redeveloping space. There's no more white boxes for offices. It's big open spaces for co-sharing, whether it's WeWork or another one. Everyone is trying to get more conference rooms or open spaces, large cafeterias, so everyone could collaborate together. The tenants are really looking for it, and that's why a lot of landlords are spending money on making these large improvements and providing this type of space for the tenants.
Jamie, are you seeing more landlords building separate conference rooms because companies don't need conference rooms as much as before?
they don't want to spend the money on the square footage for the very large conference room. So you're seeing, like a Convene, operate a conference room for an entire building. So it's changed dramatically from the past. And how often do you use the large boardroom 4 times a year, or for community gatherings for your company?
Right, but 10 years ago, you know, I mean, law libraries were aware. Today, most law firms don't have law libraries.
Not necessary.
Okay, so it's not necessary.
Right.
But don't you need a lot of breakout space? you know, room for 2, 3, 4 people to meet. I know when I was at Moody's, we were always
Right.
running, looking for more
We do.
space so we could get together.
Offices-
Even if we had our own offices,
Right.
just so we could have rating committees or whatever.
We do that, and you'll see that, you know, the 4 to 6 person conference room is very popular, and also through design, furniture design, conferencing areas that are somewhat soundproofed. The whole world has changed, even the way we occupy space and the way we function in
Let's talk
companies.
about the occupying space. When you were at RSSM, a partner may have had a large 20 by 20 office. Today,
It doesn't exist. All the offices have been shrunk down. You know, currently all the clients are using their space wisely. And the breakout rooms, like we're calling them, they're glass fishbowls, but they're so soundproof and it's handled so well that everyone is very interested in using them. I sit next to them a lot of the times. I'm an auditor, I'm in the field a lot, and it's completely soundproof and it works great for them and everyone else.
10 years ago, we didn't have this technology world. The major leases that were signed for law firms or other things in the professional today. Today, what percentage would you say are technology leases?
Garment companies call themselves technology. Everybody calls themselves a technology firm now because they're doing their primary business through e-commerce and other means that are technology related. So what we find, what I'm observing is that the typical company, when they move, they change the way they do business. There's much more collaboration. You're even seeing neighborhood type officing where you might have a cube somewhere, a very small cube, but you take your laptop anywhere you want to go with whoever you want to collaborate with, your feet up on a ottoman, whatever is most comfortable for you. They're called, you know, neighborhoods, and you decide where you want to work that day and how you want to work. It's a very different model, and actually this is how the younger generations prefer to work, and companies love what's the dynamic result of what's happening through the collaboration. So there's an efficiency. It's not cheap to build that space. People think it's cheap to have open space. It's not inexpensive to
Are
build.
people getting their work done with all of this open space?
I think, you know, how much, when you think of the day, how much work, how many times do people stop by your office and interrupt your work?
True.
I have to close my door to get my work done because
That's
people
if
stop
you're
by.
lucky enough to
have a door.
We have
What do
a
you do? Do you have a cone of silence that
So
comes
I
down?
think what happens is there's an understanding and etiquette that if somebody's very focused and appearing to be very focused, you don't interrupt them. There's other groupings, and you'll see them in seating arrangements like this, but with sound barriers where there's a meeting going on.
What happens with the junior accountants today?
So we have a lot of desk sharing, and lots of people are in the field, and somebody else uses their desk. But it's not like it was in the past where we had large, bulky monitors and computers. You have a small laptop, a docking station, and a mouse. That's all you really need. And the millennials are really enjoying that. They lock in, and they're good to go for a day. And a lot of the times, work organizations provide flexible hours and flexible work arrangements, and many of them work from home. So we're reducing the space in the office by giving them the options of people to work in another place.
Are we seeing that today at the REITs, do you think?
Yes, to a large extent. I remember years ago going out seeing A&B, the largest industrial. Well, it's now Prologis, and they have Pier 1 out in San Francisco. When they moved to Pier 1, it has to be 10 years ago at least. It's all open architecture. Even the CEO, the CFO, everybody they were one of the first I had seen.
What about data centers? There was a discussion of the cloud, but then the cloud wasn't so important. Today, I still remember, I think it may have been 8 to 10 years ago, that a number of companies were taking over these former industrial buildings or former office buildings, specifically in New Jersey, and making them data centers. Today, there's no need for the data center because the data center has been replaced by the cloud.
Well, interesting. I was reading. I had similar thought to you. And with 5G, I was reading recently, with 5G coming out and everything, people think there is still going to be a great need for data center REITs and those types of buildings, because they think you're still going to have more need to back this 5G information up, and you still are going to need these farms.
So I'm going to bring up a topic that 10 years ago we used to have food courts.
Right.
It was a food court where there were fast foods, okay, and there were fast food companies, and you see the proliferation of these fast food companies. So everybody had a Chinese restaurant, a pizza place, you know, the Wendy's and the other items. Today, these food courts have been replaced by food halls, right? If you look around the city, food halls are growing leaps by bounds. Urban Spoon has one food hall on 43rd Street in Vanderbilt, and then they opened up another one 7 blocks away. So the world has changed with regard to that. Where do you see the opportunities today in commercial real estate?
Well, you know, there's a lot of talk about everything outside of Manhattan, first of all, and then there's also the rezoning in Midtown or Grand Central. So there are still opportunities out there.
The Midtown West rezoning is going to do a great deal of changes in the city.
Right.
The only problem that you have, and I'll give you an example because you're in a building, you're at 685 3rd Avenue, which meets the zoning because it's right over there on the 3rd Avenue zoning. In order for the Durst organization to do anything, they have to vacate all the leases, be able to absorb paying the purchase price to buy everybody out, pay the interest during the period of loan, and then reconstruct the building. So this is something that isn't done overnight. That's why One Vanderbilt took so long.
Right.
So the opportunities. But I think one of the areas which you bring up is people aren't living. I mean, 10 years ago when you would be on the show, if I would say about Brooklyn, they'd say, Brooklyn office? The only thing that you had in Brooklyn office was Metrotech. And nobody really wanted to be in Metrotech. The world has changed. 10 years ago, Forest City was king. Forest City is no longer there.
Now owned by Brookfield. I have to say, you have to talk about opportunity zones.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
It's what everybody is talking about. You know, I teach at NYU and Columbia, grad and undergrad. The students are all talking about opportunity zones. They think it's the next great thing.
Unfortunately, nobody really understands the nuances for the opportunity zone. There are opportunity zones, but when somebody goes into an opportunity zone, they have to put the capital for a long period of time.
Sure.
Traditional real estate players don't like keeping capital out that long. Real estate players like to have the opportunity to sell when they can. In order to take advantage of the opportunity zone, you have to have it for 7 to 10 years. So that's one idea. In addition, if the opportunity zone is good for somebody who has a capital gain in a different area, they have art, they sold it. They bought stock, they've sold it. For real estate people, they have 1031, so it's a different situation. So it sounds nice, and the biggest problem that I see with that is I see, and since I will age myself, I'll put out you and us in a particular, there were times when there were tax shelters, and there were good syndicators.
I did those in the 80s.
Right.
At Solomon Brothers.
So there were good syndicators and there were bad syndicators. I think what's going to happen with the opportunity zones is they're going to be good people to deal with, and they're going to be people who are of inferior quality. You know, if Goldman Sachs wants to create an opportunity zone fund, or a Alliance Bernstein, or some major company wants to do an opportunity zone fund, or an Avis and Young, that I can see working out, as opposed to Mike Stoller running an opportunity zone with 3 independent individuals who have no idea about it. It's a different idea. But I think opportunity zones are there. 10 years ago, how many people were going for their masters in real estate? Has the number gone up?
I think it stayed somewhat level. Because I think as long as I've been teaching at NYU about 15 years, Columbia about 12, NYU, if I remember, had about 800 people in the program. Well, now they started an undergraduate real estate program in conjunction with the college, so you have, you know, some extra people. So now they have probably 1,000 or more.
How do you see the accounting profession change?
The master's is almost a requirement now. In order for you to take a CPA to become a certified public accountant, you need a certain amount of credits. And the way to get these credits, the easiest way is to do your master's. So we have lots of entry-level staff that are coming in that have their master's. They already started studying for their CPA. So I feel like education is growing a lot more than it has maybe 10 years ago, and the profession is expecting higher educated people.
So here's the next question. Accounting has always been an opportunity business where you start in public accounting and then you go to the next step to work for a professional firm, or you become a controller, or you get involved? Are we still seeing that transformation, or are people staying in the business?
So there's still some accountants that are moving away from public accounting, and they are going private. But by providing some more flexibility that didn't really exist in public accounting before, we are able to hold on to some more good talent and retain them, and just grow them into future partners in the firm.
With regard to that, how has the opportunities changed in the last 10 years for women in real estate? Jamie?
Oh, well, unfortunately, the ratio in brokerage is fairly similar to 10 years ago, but in other parts of the industry, it's grown. Appraisal, banking, finance, debt, equity, all of it has, well, investment sales hasn't grown that much. But in as far as professionals that are highly educated, any arena for that, you'll see women entering. I mean, think about the subscription at WX, for instance. It's packed with bankers, which is wonderful. But in general, parts of the industry where you have to be more independent and very much somewhat of a cowboy, whatever, risk taker, you find the ratio is fairly similar to what it
Mary?
was.
I agree with the ratio is somewhat similar in, I think, in brokerage, et cetera. In finance, you do see more women in portfolio management. In the REITs, I would say, however, clearly more women, but not at the top level. Of the 226 REITs in the U.S., you only have, I believe, 3 female REIT CEOs, which is probably what you had 10 years ago. You do have, probably more female CFOs, but again, you just don't have people getting to that top.
Daria, twofold question. In accounting and in your clients.
So it's actually a little bit of the opposite. I see a lot more women in C-suite positions, and they're thriving. I think remote working is helping a lot with that. Everyone's able to connect to their database for their work from anywhere. And internally in accounting, there's been a lot more women partners, which is a great thing, which means that
Terrific.
I think we're progressing. I don't know if that we're there 100% yet, and I'm hoping it's going to become even more so. But by providing some additional benefits and additional ways that could work around women's schedule, with having a family, with spending some time at home instead of commuting to the office on weekdays, weekends, allows some of the women to stay in the field and go up.
And I attribute that, I think, the big 4 accounting firms and the others as well all started, they were the first ones I knew to start women's groups.
Yes.
To foster women being promoted and how we get people up the rung.
Right.
And then a lot of the other companies started it after, I think, after that.
So I brought up retail, e-commerce, I brought up industrial, all the areas. One area which we know is going to happen is the effect of the cannabis industry on real estate. How do you see it having an effect?
It's very industrial related type real estate for cannabis, because it depends on whether it's greenhouse or vertical farming. They're very different square footage wise. I think that between the on-time delivery in industrial warehousing space and vertical growing, you're going to see a huge competition for the limited space for those types of uses. And even in vertical growing, I'm doing a vertical farm deal right now whereby we're pushed aside because of a cannabis grower coming in who, because the profits are there, it's backed by big pharma, it's all medical cannabis, not recreational. They're dollar signs for the developer who wants to invest in it, and it's right there.
Have you seen any in your area?
No, I haven't. We haven't had real estate combining with cannabis just yet. It's fairly new, and probably will catch up soon. Real estate is a little slow in picking up.
But the irony is in New York State right now, the retail cannabis stores, which are medical stores, have opened up to be 9.
Yeah.
Okay, in a similar manner is 10 years ago If I would discuss casino gaming, it would be a different case. And today, sports gaming in the state of New Jersey has been a windfall. It's been a total change over there. And it's also changed the type of retail because there's more opportunities.
Sure.
So, as one would say, the evolution of change over the past 10 years is unbelievable.
Yes,
It is.
I agree. And
absolutely.
I'm one who has never believed that retail is dead. I think it just evolves. I think that's
I think
the word.
retail changes.
Change.
It has to
Okay.
change.
You know, and it's dollar stores are still doing well. I mean, when you see a Five Below opening up on Fifth Avenue and 43rd
know.
Street,
Yes.
it's a good example of what the world has changed. So if you had to look at my crystal apple over there, where would you see us in 10 years?
I think, by the way, there was a lot of M&A this year in the REIT field. I think there's going to continue to be some more M&A. I think consolidation will be needed in order for companies to progress and evolve in light of all the changes. Probably interest rates will be a little bit higher, clearly, and I think we're going to have a lot of evolutions in the e-commerce space and retail. But retail is not going to be
If I
dead.
had a look, my apple's pretty shiny, and it's been good. You know, it got a little dull, but it's getting shiny. And I think if I have you back in 10 years or even before, okay, since we've already celebrated 1,100 shows, I hope to have many of you back. I'd like to thank Mary, Daria, and Jamie, and I'll see you next week.